Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, the year-long circus that just ended. The ZANU-PF carnival masquerading as SADC chairmanship. The Mnangagwa government rolled out the red carpet, inflated the balloons, and invited the whole region to marvel at what they swore was a historic victory, as if chairmanship of SADC was an election they bravely fought and won at the ballot box. They sold it on state TV like it was a trophy earned after a grueling campaign, when in fact it was nothing more than a dusty rotational duty passed around like the microphone at a drunk uncle's wedding. And now, as fate would have it, that microphone is heading to Madagascar, and the region is cheering not because Madagascar is next, but because Mnangagwa is finally off the stage. Let's start with Mozambique, the graveyard of any claim Mnangagwa might have made to being a democratic statesman. Under his so-called stewardship, Mozambique descended into one of the bloodiest, most contested elections in its history. Allegations of rigging swirled like vultures, hundreds lost their lives, and property went up in smoke. And what was Zimbabwe's contribution? ZANU-PF supporters caught on camera in Masvingo Central proudly voting in Mozambique's elections as if borders are merely suggestions. Among them, the sole loser for the Ward 17, Mr. Manyawi, happily participating in a foreign election like it was a cross-border shopping trip. You can't contest as a ward councillor in one country and in the next month vote for another country. The result was chaos, destruction, and a diplomatic stain that mirrored Mnangagwa's own rigged 2023 election at home. Instead of exporting maize, Zimbabwe exported rigging tactics, and the region paid the price. And then Botswana, where the SADC chairmanship fingerprints were once again smeared across the electoral process like greasy fingerprints on stolen ballot boxes. ZANU-PF operatives stormed in, clearly forgetting they weren't invited, and were promptly chased out like unwashed squatters from a backyard. Opposition figures, including ex-President Ian Khama, publicly accused Mnangagwa's men of attempting to tamper with Botswana's vote. And how did the world react? By labeling Mnangagwa the People's Will Suppression Dictator and SADC's Rigging Mafia. If this was meant to be a leadership legacy, it was one that turned Botswana's half-century ruling party into a casualty, defeated for the first time in history, leaving the SADC chairmanship synonymous with electoral meddling. As if that wasn't enough, he waltzed into the South Africa's elections, thinking the ANC needed a crash course in how to suppress opposition. ZANU-PF leaders were spotted visiting ANC during election time, sparking outrage so fierce that opposition parties demanded their deportation. Yes, deportation. The very same ZANU-PF that forces Zimbabweans to run into South Africa in search of survival was now being chased out by South Africans for rigging their elections. The irony was so rich, it could be bottled and sold. And what was the end result? The ANC lost its majority and was shoved into a coalition, while Mnangagwa carried the badge of shame as the meddler who exported instability. Namibia was the next stage for this rigging roadshow. Enter Wikneo Chivayo, Mnangagwa's flamboyant ally with a taste for controversy, who was suddenly found hovering around Namibia's electoral process like a vulture waiting for the kill. Alarm bells rang, protests erupted, and citizens warned against allowing ZANU-PF's dirty fingerprints on their domestic affairs. In the end, Namibia managed to keep its democracy afloat, but Mnangagwa's chairmanship was so unpopular that even the idea of his associates being nearby sparked outrage. When your name alone can cause protest in another country, you know your foreign policy has failed spectacularly. And then there is the Democratic Republic of Congo, where Mnangagwa was expected to lead the charge in resolving one of the bloodiest conflicts in the region. Instead, he left the war unresolved, offering nothing but silence, destruction, and photo ops. His chairmanship achieved as much in Congo as his command agriculture achieved in Zimbabwean granaries. Absolutely nothing except enriching a few cronies. So, what exactly did the man achieve? According to his cheerleaders, he planted palm trees, fake ones at that. He threw up substandard villas for show, splurged millions on propaganda, and even had the audacity to brand Zupco buses with the SADC logo as if cheap paint jobs were the hallmark of regional leadership. This was his idea of legacy, not conflict resolution, not unity, not progress, just landscaping and rebranded buses, the kind of development that fools no one but his die-hard Ziganandas. The SADC guidelines for democratic elections spell it out clearly: transparency, credibility, and fairness. Yet under Mnangagwa, every election in the region was the opposite. Mozambique banned, Botswana fumed, South Africa fumbled, Namibia protested. Every single ballot cast under his chairmanship carried the stench of suspicion. Instead of democracy, Mnangagwa exported dictatorship. Instead of fairness, he sold manipulation. Instead of transparency, he delivers secrecy and scandals. And as the curtain falls on his disastrous term, SADC citizens are not merely relieved. They are celebrating in the streets, in whispers, and in opposition rallies. People are openly cheering the end of his chairmanship as if they have just survived a natural disaster. The darkest electoral era in SADC's history is finally over, and Madagascar inherits the gavel not with pleasure, but with the applause of a region desperate for change. The sad reality is that Mnangagwa leaves behind nothing of substance. No lasting peace, no economic integration, no democratic reform. His chairmanship was a carbon copy of Zimbabwe's 2023 election, a fraudulent template applied region-wide. And now, all that remains is the embarrassment of a leader who thought he could export his rigging empire and got exposed at every turn. And to the unfortunate souls like DJ Masomere, who declared themselves SADC MC to ride this sinking ship, this is what happens when you tie your brand to failure. You end up as a footnote in a story of regional shame. Because who else except the brainwashed would want to be associated with such a catastrophic record? So, here we are, Zimbabwe and the region, waving goodbye to Mnangagwa's chairmanship with relief. It came, it stumbled, it embarrassed, and it left. No trace of achievement, no legacy worth recording, just another wasted year of ZANU-PF meddling. And if you thought ZANU-PF's disasters were contained within the Zimbabwe's borders, this past year proved otherwise. They are more than happy to export chaos, rigging, and corruption wherever the SADC chairmanship badge allowed them to go. Viewers, The region is asking the same question we are asking you right now. Can you name even one achievement of Mnangagwa's SADC chairmanship? Comment below, because we'd love to hear if the Rigananders can dig up a miracle that the rest of us missed. And while you are at it, do the region a favor. Hit that subscribe button and join us in documenting the failures that others would rather sweep under the rug. Because here at Zimwaves TV, we don't plant fake palm trees or paint buses. We plant the truth and we brand it with satire.
SADC